And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and let's talk about Universes Beyond. I haven't really talked about it as a general subject on my channel before, and I think it's probably time. Obviously, I've talked about the individual sets and the cards and all that coming out. I guess except recently, because we've been getting so much lately that I haven't really had an opportunity to talk about it. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this video right now that don't even know a lot of these cards exist. I'll get into it a little bit, but mostly I'm talking about it as a general topic. And, you know, I'll probably be naming this video something like, have we gone a little too far with it? I will get to why, but let's get back into the history of it, right? Starting in the beginning. So we started out essentially with the Walking Dead cards, although there was stuff before that. Like they did, for those who don't know, originally, they did some Transformers cards back in the day, and they also did some My Little Pony stuff. Why those, I'm not sure. But they were silver bordered, right? They were silver bordered cards, which of course makes a big difference, right? Well, the Walking Dead cards, I believe, were the first that they did that crossover IP thing where they, I mean, obviously you have, and I don't know, maybe some of these names don't apply to certain things, but when I'm talking about Universes Beyond, I'm talking about any IP that is not from Magic that they're bringing into the Magic universe. I believe that's what the term covers. So the Walking Dead were the first ones that were black bordered, that were actually mechanically unique cards. And of course, there was, I didn't have a channel back then. I probably would have been freaking out about it. There was a lot of people freaking out about it. Also, they didn't really feel like Magic cards. That was another issue, and for me, definitely was an issue that they didn't really feel like Magic cards. I mean, you just had this baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire called Lucille. Does that feel? It doesn't feel very Magic. But the people who really like Walking Dead probably liked them a lot, right? And then as we went on, we got, I think we got the Godzilla stuff in Ikoria, which a lot of people probably have forgotten about. We got a little bit there. And then, of course, they really started to pour it on. However, one of the big issues that people had originally with the Walking Dead cards is these are just Walking Dead cards and that's it. We're never reprinting them as, Magic skinned versions, whatever you want to call them. And that's one of the big issues that people had. By the way, they eventually did. And I, as an aside, I would just like to mention whenever I say certain things and people are like, Wizards of the Coast says they're going to do this, or Wizards of the Coast says, I don't care what Wizards of the Coast says they're going to do. They say things all the time and don't follow through with them. Okay. They said they were not going to reprint the Walking Dead cards as reskinned Magic cards, and they eventually did. They didn't make a big announcement about it, but they did. If you're not aware, they say things all the time and then change. Oh, we're not going to print core sets anymore. And then they start doing it again, and then they stop doing it. They change things all the time, so I don't care what they say. I'll believe it when I see it. The reason I'm talking about this now in particular is because we've really been getting it, like they really are pouring it on now. And is it getting to the point now where we're getting more Magic stuff than non-Magic stuff? I mean, it's all Magic, right? But it's to the point now, like if I look at this year in particular, right? Of course, we got, I mean, there's secret layer drops all the time, ones that people aren't even aware of. The D&D movie, right? That stuff came out this year. We got the Street Fighter stuff. Maybe people are aware of that. Maybe people are not. Again, they reskin them as actual Magic cards. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We got the Stranger Things cards, which again, a lot of people weren't really a big fan of, but they did reskin them as well. And in fact, funny enough, I'm actually putting a deck together. It is a red and white lands theme that I'm using one of those cards, Sophina. That is the commander for that deck because it sort of fits what I'm doing. I couldn't really find a commander that fits what I'm doing, so I'm using that. That is a reskinned version of the sheriff guy or something. I'm not really a big fan of the show. But that's another thing that obviously I need to talk about here is, and the part that almost bothers me the most, right, is obviously they're trying to target people who are fans of these particular IP, whether it be shows or, games or whatever. And of course, I'm going to talk about my personal experience here because I am a fan of some of these things, some of the things not so much. I'm a huge D&D guy, which is, in my opinion, actually a great crossover because it's very relatable. We have pretty much the exact same kind of stuff, very slight changes, right? So obviously I was actually kind of excited when they were going to do some D&D crossover set, when they were going to do the Forgotten Realms stuff. I've actually been playing D&D for longer than I've been playing Magic, and I actually play in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, which is what they ended up doing there originally anyway. So yeah, when I first started seeing cards like Vorpal Sword and Dritz I got pretty excited about that. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of neat to see them as a Magic card. But ultimately, I try to be objective about it, and I try to see the overall picture and how does this, I'm looking at it as a Magic player, not as a D&D guy, right? And again, I think it's likely that Wizard of the Coast is doing this. I mean, they're doing this to sell cards, of course, as everyone likes to point out. But I think they also maybe are doing this to bring people in from those other areas, right? So maybe if you're a big Stranger Things fan and you've never ever played Magic before, this will get you into Magic, right? If you're a big D&D guy and you've never played Magic, I don't know how many people that fit into that category. There can't be too many. Most people I know do both. But if you're a big D&D guy, you've never touched Magic cards before, now, you've read all the books, the Dritz books, you see Dritz as a Magic card, that might entice you to go ahead and start playing Magic. And funny enough, the other sort of aside here, the other thing that sort of fits into all this, and one of the things that they are, I think, is pushing the Universes Beyond thing even more, right? If you look at all the Universes Beyond stuff, what is front and center is the legendary creatures, because of course it's the characters, right? The characters from Stranger Things, the characters from Walking Dead, the characters from Doctor Who or whatever. And so that fits really nicely into Commander, right? So the Commander format, I think they see how the Commander format is really easy to push these Universes Beyond product. And of course, Commander is sort of pushing all the products in Magic the Gathering right now. And it's very easy for them to just say, okay, well, let's just take all these popular characters from this whatever, and we'll just print them as legendary creatures, and then people will go after them because they'll want to build around their favorite character from the show or from the video game or whatever. So Commander is sort of pushing this as well. Getting back to the D&D thing, though, again, I want to talk about this on a little bit of a personal aspect, how I feel about it. Because again, Stranger Things, didn't love it. The Street Fighter stuff, didn't love it. Walking Dead, didn't love it. I didn't think it was great crossover IP. The D&D stuff was really good. It fit really well. And also, I'm a big D&D guy, right? So of course, I'm kind of excited about it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, for me, I try to be objective about it. And as a Magic player, how do I feel? Now, again, there wasn't a whole lot in the D&D set for me to not be happy about, except for the dungeon mechanic. The dungeon mechanic, if I'm standing back and looking at it objectively, it is actually flavor-wise fantastic. 5 stars for whoever designed that on the design team, as far as let's figure out something that is sort of unique to D&D. Although I will just say, as a DM, I haven't really actually done very many dungeon crawls. I don't do that kind of stuff much. You're usually above ground, but anyway, the dungeon mechanic, very flavorful. They did a bang up job as far as hitting the flavor of a mechanic that fits in the game of Magic. However, as a Magic player, I hate it. I hate the dungeon mechanic. I hated when I first saw it. And I still hate it. I actually made a video. There might be a few people watching this right now that have actually saw the video that was briefly on my channel. When I first saw the dungeon mechanic, I was really unhappy, and I made a scathing video about it. And it was very negative, and I try my hardest not to do super negative stuff on my channel. So I ended up taking it down. I was only up for like 6 hours or something. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to keep this up there. There's only two videos I've ever put on my channel that I actually ended up taking down. That was one of them. And I don't know, maybe there was 1,000 people that ended up actually watching it before I took it down. I really don't like the dungeon mechanic. I never have. And again, that's me being objective as a Magic player. I'm judging that mechanic. Flavor-wise, they nailed it. They hit it out of the park. But as a Magic player, I hate it. I always have. But herein lies the real issue. Okay, this is the real issue that is really starting to bother me. Because again, if they print, when I first saw the My Little Pony cards, I thought they were silly. Okay, that's kind of silly, but whatever. People can do as they like. I say it all the time. They were silver bordered, so of course that didn't matter a whole lot. And again, when the Walking Dead cards, my initial reaction was not great, but I thought, okay, they're not super busted. At the end of the day, I care about what that card's actually doing. And am I going to sit across from a guy who's playing a Walking Dead character and have a real issue with it? Nah, I don't know. I mean, probably not. I've played against guys who have proxy Millennium Falcons as their commander. I can't remember what the actual card was, but their commander's a Millennium Falcon, right? And so at the end of the day, I don't really care that much more. I more care about the mechanics of the game, right? However, the issue that is, and I really started to see it recently, okay, because with both the Lord of the Rings and with Doctor Who, because there is some really rabid fan bases for those particular IPs, right? That this is where a lot of the issue comes in where okay, now we're creating animosity. That's the part I really don't like. And I saw it particularly with the Doctor Who set. And the Doctor Who set, obviously, there's a huge fan base there. I'm not myself. And the Doctor Who set, to me, felt like the first set, because most of these other ones are like secret layer drops and stuff, right? The Doctor Who set, and it surprised me because I didn't think it was going to be a full on set. And a lot of other people I talked to as well did not realize it was going to be a full on set. In fact, the cards they spoiled back in August or something, I thought that was it. I was going to make a video about it. I did not realize it was going to be a full on set. So when they started spoiling this entire set, to me, Doctor Who was the first set that is, a full on universes beyond set that doesn't really feel like it fits in magic. Right, like we got phone booths and stuff like that, right? Like it doesn't. We got guys playing guitar. It doesn't really feel like magic. Again, it has that feeling like Stranger Things or like The Walking Dead or like Street Fighter, but those were just like a handful of cards, right? Here we have a full on set and we have cards that I imagine are never going to be reskinned as anything else. They're just, we have doctors and aliens and all that in Magic the Gathering, right? So there's that to begin with, but also, again, the animosity it creates is the part that I really don't like. There was a lot of bickering about this, even on my Discord. Again, I witnessed it firsthand where you have the guys that are the big Doctor Who fans, they were loving it, and the guys that weren't, or even the guys that were just not big universes. Again, there are people that might be big Doctor Who fans that hate the Doctor Who magic cards because they don't like the universes beyond stuff, right? They keep those two things separate. We don't need the crossover, right? Again, I'm the same way with the D&D where I don't need to see Drift Stewart as I mean it's cool to see, but if they never did it, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good with just playing Magic over here, and over here I'll play D&D. That's how I look at it. But the animosity it's creating is the part that really bugs me. That there's a couple of things that are bugging me. That's one where I don't like. Now I have, again, for me personally, I have patrons on my Discord bickering back and forth because you have big Doctor Who fans that are excited about these cards, and then you have other people that are not excited about them, and and in fact they actually hate it. That are sort of, now we're sort of getting on each other's backs about it. I actually have a patron that quit Magic entirely, a patron of mine that was with me since pretty much the beginning. And funny enough, it was the Dungeons and Dragons, the Forgotten Realms set, where he's like, "Yeah, I'm done. Sorry, man. I'm not doing this anymore." I have several patrons that are never going to touch the universes beyond stuff. I have, I'll do a deck doctor or a deck tech for, and again, this is what I don't like. I don't like that I have to do this now. I have a deck doctor, a deck tech request from a patron, and they'll be like, "Oh, by the way, no universes beyond." Right? So if you're making a deck for me and I get that request, not a lot, but from time to time I'll have a patron say, "Yeah, I want this kind of deck, but make sure you don't put any, Lord of the Rings or Doctor Who stuff and no universes beyond." And I'm like, "Okay, obviously they can make the request they want, but it makes my life more difficult as well, right?" And again, sometimes they reskin this stuff. So does that mean I can use the reskinned version or not? Maybe, maybe not, right? I did a poll on my Patreon actually, and I said, because again, this Doctor Who set is this one really, and that's why I decided to finally I've decided to make a video about it for a couple of reasons, but the Doctor Who set, again, it was the set that I think really sort of charged this issue up a little bit. I did a poll on my Patreon. Are you ever going to touch any of the Doctor Who stuff? And it was about, I think it was 75-25. So 25% of people said, no, I'm never touching it. 75% said they were, but, I would say the majority of that is exactly what I did, which is there's a couple neat cards and I'll play them. That's what I did. Again, for me personally, there's a handful of cards that came out in Doctor Who, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll use that in one of my decks. There's a neat card. There was some really neat cards, and I don't want to not use them. Again, I don't love it, but I'm not hardcore enough where I'm going to skip over a really neat card that fits in my deck because I want to, boycott it or whatever. That's just me. And people can do what they want. right? Again, if I have a patron that says, build me this deck, but I don't want to see any Universes Beyond cards in there, I'm like, okay, you're well within your right to do that, but I don't like that has to happen, right? That part really bothers me. And the other part that really bothers me is, are they, getting back to the title of this video, are we going a little too far here, right? I'm just looking at this year alone. I mean, I'm looking at the cards that came out this year and I'm thinking, we're almost getting as much Universes Beyond stuff as we're getting normal Magic cards now, right? Again, just looking at the secret layer drop stuff, we got the D&D guys, we got the Princess Bride stuff, and again, some of this is just reskinning, which is fine. People tend to have less of an issue with the reskinnings of original Magic cards than they do with mechanically unique cards. So we got the Princess Bride stuff, and again, that's a fantastic movie. It's a classic. I love it. Do I need to see Magic cards like that? I don't think I do. We got the Lord of the Rings set, which of course was a full-on set, and as I've said many times, I think it's a great Magic set, but that's a full-on set of crossover IP. Then we got the Doctor Who stuff, which is another full-on set of crossover IP. Then we got Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which, of course, that's unique, but it had the Jurassic Park stuff in it, right? Again, a lot of people might not even be aware of. We got the Jurassic Park crossover IP in that set. And again, that's another thing where it's like almost every set that's coming out now is either crossover IP or has crossover IP cards in it. Like the Brothers War set last year, which had Transformers stuff in it, right? We've already got spoilers for Fallout, the video game. Again, not my thing, not a gamer. I don't know anything about it. Those cards look really weird in the Magic universe. That's just my first reaction. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are excited about it. But seeing a bobblehead in Magic, it's a little weird, right? Seeing a Coke machine or Nuka-Cola, it's a little weird. I don't know if it fits. Apparently, we just got Tomb Raider cards dropped on us as well. They've already talked about how they're going to be doing Marvel cards at some point. We're getting the rest of the Fallout set next year, apparently. We're getting Assassin's Creed next year as well. I think and they're probably correct in this assumption that a lot of Magic players are also gamers and play all these video games. I don't. So, maybe they're getting people excited, or it's the same, let's call it demographic of people that play video games and Magic. Again, with the D&D and the Magic, same thing. So we can bring more people into playing Magic if they're huge gamers and they want to play an Assassin's Creed. I think there's a little bit of that mentality as well. Final Fantasy, again, same thing, right? And like I said, we're getting those Marvel cards apparently as well. So is it getting to be a bit much? I think it is. I think when I'm doing, and of course I'm doing spoiler videos, I could be doing more spoiler videos for crossover IP for Universes Beyond than for actual Magic cards at this point. Certainly towards the end of the year. Like, again, Doctor Who, Fallout, Princess Bride, all this stuff we got and Jurassic Park, right? All this stuff we've gotten in the last couple months. So it is starting to feel like it's starting to feel like too much. That's my opinion. My opinion is I think they're going a little overboard with it. Once we reached, again, issue number one, I don't like the animosity it creates. It creates animosity with people that are a fan of that IP. And guys, please, my advice here is don't take it personally. Okay, if I don't like the Doctor Who cards, don't get upset at me because you're a big Doctor Who fan. Go be a big Doctor Who fan. By the way, I don't have an issue. Like I said, I bought some of the cards. I think it is not a great fit in the Magic universe. Just like I don't think Tomb Raider is a good fit in the Magic universe, and I don't think Street Fighter is a good fit in the Magic universe. But don't get upset at me because you're a fan of the show. Go be a fan of the show. Go watch reruns over and over again. Let's just keep the whole Magic discussion in the Magic realm, okay? Let's judge these cards based on how they are as Magic cards, right? I don't like the animosity it creates. Now, I have patrons with Walking Dead commanders. I have all over the spectrum. It's unfortunate, again, that I will have another patron that, I'm not playing against that guy. He's got a Doctor Who commander. Nah, I'm not playing. That's the part that really bothers me. Dividing the community here. I don't love that. And I also don't love that they are really going full steam down this road where we are, feels like, I mean, I didn't actually count, but it feels like we're getting more, we're about dead even with the amount of Universes Beyond content we're getting compared to just regular old Magic cards. I don't know. That's my take on it. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think of this situation, the direction it's going, and where we currently are. I'm not a big fan of it. You guys let me know what you think. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.